Yeah, sorry, I have a three-part question here.
Say where you're from.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Holly Kellum, NTD Television. So you talked about the cartels. Maybe, well, any of you can speak to this, but what should the U.S. do? What can the U.S. do about cartels? And then if the immigrants, if there aren't as many coming through, are the cartels going to just sell more drugs into the U.S.?
The cartels actually work in a couple of different ways. Well, you asked what we can do. We could stop doing heroin. We could stop doing meth. We could stop doing blow. That's one way. I mean, that's how they make their money. We're the only country on the face of the earth that gets the majority of its heroin from Mexico. The Mexicans saw when we had marijuana legalization, they had a problem. They couldn't sell marijuana anymore. Sheriff talked about that. Well, they couldn't sell their marijuana. So they, tore up the marijuana and they put in poppies and they started growing heroin. Heroin that, I live in Baltimore. We have what's called the Baltimore lean, where people will sit on the sidewalk or lean up against a door jamb because they're on heroin. They can't stand up. That heroin comes from Mexico. That heroin comes from the cartels. Choking off those cartels is good for the United States. It's good for Mexico. Last year was the deadliest year in Mexican history. I think there were 33,000 murders in Mexico last year. Consider that fact. Last year was the deadliest year in Mexican history. Remember Sicario? That was set in 2014. Last year was worse. Juarez had actually calmed down. Back in 14, I think we had bodies hanging off the bridges in Juarez. Now we're seeing Juarez blowing up again because there is turf battles going on amongst the cartels. The cartels are selling death in the United States. They're selling heroin and methamphetamine. Sheriff alluded to that. They're selling death in Mexico because they're fighting for territory. But what the cartels do is they don't primarily move the aliens, but they charge you. That area along the border is their area. They're going to charge generally about $1,000 a head for every alien that crosses over. So 144,000 aliens crossing over the border times $1,000, I believe, is $14 million for doing nothing. They don't have to grow a single poppy. They don't have to make a single pound of meth. They just get the money. And if you don't pay, you're dead. Smugglers are smart people. They don't want to die. So they're going to pay. So we're funding death in Mexico, and we're funding death in the United States because of these misguided policies.
Sure.
Let me address that. That's a great question. And let's look at some strategies that we think will work. You've got two areas. You've got Mexico as a country, and then you've got the United States. So how do we deal with the cartel strategically? How do we work on that immediately? So on the Mexican side, I have little faith in the Mexican government being able to control the cartel at all. This is why probably on the U.S. side that terrorist organization has some validity as to what we can do there. The other part is that the federal government can't do this alone. This has to be a coordinated, organized effort between state, federal, and local, working on the same sheet of music to combat the cartel. The travel routes into this country are the main conduits for what they do. The travel routes. You choke the travel routes down as a strategy, and you put that in place as a national framework to start dealing with the cartels on a real-time basis with all of your assets combined in a strategic manner, then you start making an impact on what your cartel and how they operate in the United States.